Hey everyone, Austin here again with another Let's Play video. As some of you guys know, it's October 2016 as of recording this, and we are doing horror-themed Let's Plays all this month. We already did Splatterhouse 2, and so we're back with the first Splatterhouse, this time on the PC Engine, or Turbo Grafx-16. This is actually the United States version of the game. I don't know if there are any differences from this one to the Japanese one. If anybody knows, feel free to post a comment below and let me know. This is actually the attract mode. There's actually no sound on the attract mode. It's a little weird actually. So your headphones are not broken, or your speakers are not broken. My game's not broken. Let's just go ahead and just jump right into it. I did actually recently do a Let's Play of the very first Splatterhouse on the FM Towns, which, from what I understand, is a nearly perfect arcade port. The PC Engine version I actually played through last night, just to warm up, just to make sure I could do it for this month, for this Let's Play, and I didn't have any problems. I completed it. I think I died like once, and it was actually pretty easy. I think it's actually a little bit easier than the arcade version of the game. I think you might even start off with more life. I think in the arcade version you only start with 3 on default settings, but yeah, it's still a really cool game on the Turbo Grafx. I do like the first Splatterhouse. It's, there's a decent amount of action going on for the most part. Not quite as busy as the arcade game, but it's still pretty close in terms of level structure and enemy placement and so forth. Graphically and sound-wise, it's taken a major hit naturally. But the Turbo Grafx version is still pretty cool. I still actually recommend playing this game if you're a fan of the Turbo Grafx or PC Engine. Prices of this game are a little up there now, as is a lot of Turbo Grafx and PC Engine stuff. But you can always check out a flash cart. Turbo EverDrives are not expensive in the grand scheme of things anyway. And actually, the Japanese version of this game might be cheaper than the North American version. It probably is. So, I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've checked, but... So, I mean, if you're familiar with the original arcade game, you can really see how similar this game is to the original. Even right down to, the enemy patterns and so forth. Like, the next... one of the next sections, when we have to deal with, poltergeists... Not poltergeists, yeah, I guess kind of like Poltergeist. When all the furniture and stuff like that just starts attacking you, the patterns are pretty much identical to the arcade, which is really cool. So when I stepped up to this game to play it last night, I used the knowledge of the patterns of the arcade game, and that got me through the game. It's very true to the arcade game in that regard, which is really cool. Again, obviously, like I said, graphically, it's not quite there with the arcade game, but it does try to replicate that arcade feel a good bit, and they did a really good job on this game given the hardware. PC Engine was not the most powerful console out there at the time, but I think they still did a commendable job on this game. And they still managed to nail that kind of creepy vibe, like you're in an actual horror movie or something. This section always resonated with me in that regard, making you feel like it was an actual horror movie or something like that. I can think of very few games from back in the day that actually managed to pull that off, and Splatterhouse 1 was one of the very few I can think of. And the Turbo Grafx version still manages to do that, despite the heavily downgraded visuals and sound and whatnot. So, for those of you guys that saw my FM Towns Marty Let's Play of Splatterhouse, I'm pretty much going to be taking the exact same route that I did in the FM Towns version. And one of the reasons for that is I want to do a dual play, a side-by-side long play of this version in the FM Towns Marty one. And that should be coming in the next week or so after uploading this video. So that should be interesting for some of you guys out there that want to see a direct side-by-side comparison playthrough. And, but yeah, that is one reason why we're going to be taking the exact same routes. There's not a ton of different routes you can take in this game, but there are a couple of different rooms and segments you can avoid, depending on what you do. Mostly in the final level, as well. So again, like I said, these patterns are pretty much identical to the arcade. Even, that eyeball picture that comes out. Pretty much the exact same pattern as the arcade one, which is really cool. So, you know, if you're really familiar with that game, you should be able to pick up the Turbo Grafx 1 or PC Engine 1 and just tear right through it. It's not really any more difficult than the original. And like I said, in some ways it's actually easier because I think there's actually less enemies in certain situations, but like boss rooms like this, I basically consider that a boss room, is, you know, pretty much identical. But, you know, there are a few less enemies here and there throughout the course of the game, and you do get more health. So I started the game with 5 hearts. I'm pretty sure on the FM Towns version, when I play through that, I only had 3 starting off. Alright, so just like in the arcade version, we're going to use the shotgun trick here, and I have to make sure I don't get sucked down below. Dude, dog, go away. That's weird. That didn't happen last time. The dog just like kept coming back. That was really weird. So you want to try to punch the dog, or sorry, kick the dog, and you want to try to kick all these enemies. You don't want to waste your shotgun bullets. Whoa, that was really weird. Huh. Ooh. I didn't want to do that either. Crap. Alright, well, let's see if we can try to, yeah, just kick him. So what I was trying to do is actually pick up that rock to throw at that hanging bag enemy, whatever the hell you call them. I'm not sure what you call them. I actually don't know any of the enemies' names in this game. So there we go. I need to get that shotgun. There we go, got it. So I find that this boss is actually, he almost seems a little more aggressive in this version. But again, if you do the shotgun trick, and because you've got more health in this version, you should still be able to get through it without a problem. So we're on stage 4. The next level after this one is pretty much the next, or I should say the last, like, really big stage in this game. Splatterhouse 1 is actually not a very long game when you know what to do. You can just really tear through this game when you know the exact patterns and so forth and how the game progresses. So what I want to avoid is falling down there, falling down the holes. That's an alternate path. Actually, I'm not sure if that's an actual alternate path. That might be one of those sections where you go down and then it sends you right back up to the room you were last in. Do they do that in this game? I don't know. I think I'm getting it confused with the second Splatterhouse. I did actually Let's Play Splatterhouse 2 last week. So for anybody that missed that, feel free to check that out. I'll probably have a link in the description box below. Or in the card in the top right-hand portion of the screen that you can click on to access my Splatterhouse 2 Let's Play for Genesis. I actually wasn't very thrilled with that game, but it does have some similar features, like, or not really similar, but it has some features where you fall down a hole, you beat the section after you fall down the hole, and then it just puts you right back up, you know, where you were before you fell down the hole. So, the Genesis version of Splatterhouse 2, well, actually, there's really only one version of that game. It's the Genesis one, and it doesn't really have alternate pathways or, you know, optional segments that will just take you a completely different route like this game does. So these guys in the mirrors, just like in the arcade version, I just, you know, I sort of wait until, you know, the mirror is at least halfway through the screen. That way I can just get a, the guy can't corner me towards the right-hand side of the screen. Well, that didn't work out too well. And what I prefer to do is give him one quick punch as he comes out. You basically get a free hit. And then I try to just jump kick him from there. Alright, so this is, you know, basically a boss. You know, Splatterhouse doesn't really have that many bosses, per se. You know, you've got segments like this that kind of feel like boss fights, but they kind of don't feel like boss fights at the same time. Like, the enemies don't take that many hits. You know, like this guy has a lot of these floating heads. They all just, you know, die in one hit, basically. And he's dead. And what's really funny about this version of the game is in the arcade version, there's an altar here. And, it, you know, it's got a holy cross on it, and, then creepy music plays. But back when this game came out, it was just like North America, especially, where the United States was still, well, it's not really so much the United States. It was just like video game companies were a little wary to have like religious symbolism in their games, and so in some cases they were censored. Now you really never see that kind of thing anymore, but back then they actually went to great lengths to cut things out of certain games when they were brought over to the United States. So like they cut out the religious altar and the Holy Cross and whatnot. Another series that did that to a smaller degree was the Castlevania series. They actually cut out some of the religious symbolism when they brought those games over here. Not all of them. You know, like Castlevania 3, you start off the game, there's a big-ass cross right in front of you. Okay, but, you know, they changed the names of some of the items around. So instead of, like, well, they just changed some things around. So when I got here for the first time, I was actually really surprised that you can pretty much do this section the exact same way as you can the arcade one, which is awesome, because it was one of the hardest sections for me to get used to in the arcade one. So you want to like punch that hand and then just keep running here. Hold left, jump over, jump, hold left again, jump. And I think we're going to go ahead and just fall right down. This takes us to another water section, I believe. And then this section actually takes us to like a basement. And this is actually where we want to go. And there's another alternate path you can take on this from this screen that we don't want to take. But the reason I take this route is just because I'm much more consistent at it. So this guy, you want to try to hit him really quickly, otherwise he revives his zombies. What's interesting about this version, he doesn't take nearly as many hits as he does in the arcade one. So he's dead already. It probably would have taken twice as many hits on the arcade one. So let's just jump over that hole. And this room could be tricky. There's a lot of these worm things. I'm going to assume they're called boar worms. They were called boar worms in Splatterhouse 3, and they look pretty much identical to what they were in Splatterhouse 3. One of the few enemy types I actually know the name of, now that I think about it. And that's mainly because of Splatterhouse 3. They actually talk about some of the enemies in that game, in the story itself. Now, this part is a little weird. When you get to the end of the screen in this version of the game, it doesn't automatically grab you and throw you through the exit. You actually have to manually hold right. So as you can see there, all of those guys were spawning, and I was taking damage because I was just sitting there. So that's something you have to be aware of when you play this game, if you're used to the arcade one. If you're not used to the arcade one, it's probably not going to matter that much. So let's see if we can beat this guy on our first try. As you can see, the hitboxes are pretty kind to you in this game. Like, I don't punch up, but the hitbox is so big, it registers as if I was hitting up or something like that. Which is kind of nice for this boss. So for this boss, you know, the first two sections, you can pretty much just sit in a corner if you want to. And then the third cycle, you know, when she transforms back and you know, transforms back to human, then transforms back to monster. You have to get up closer for this third one. Got it. Nice. First try. Have we even died yet? I don't know. Alright, so in the arcade version, this is actually my least favorite stage in the game, and this is actually the second to last level. The last level is just, you know, an obstacle rush, and then the final boss, and then that's it. So, this is the last level where you're actually punching stuff regularly. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just kill myself. Because we've got 4 lives, and I don't want to get through this whole level, take a hit, and have to do the whole thing over again. It's a, you know, it takes a good minute to get to the boss, I think. And very much like the arcade version of this game, these bubbles just seem to be random. So in many ways, like, they really did a good job with mimicking, like, you know, the enemy spawn points and patterns and so forth, and in this case, like the randomized nature of how these bubbles appear. Fortunately, it seems like if they appear off-screen, the guys don't spawn and start hopping after you. They're just, the game considers them off-screen and it doesn't bring them in. Whereas in the arcade version, they can spawn off-screen and still come after you, which is really frustrating. So it can get, the arcade version can get overwhelming faster. I'm not doing a very good job here of not taking damage. We should be at the boss in just a minute. Or a moment. Not a minute. There. There we go. Yes, you really don't want these guys to spawn. If you can avoid it. Oh, come on. And you know what's interesting is I find that when there's a lot of action on screen, like, the buttons on your controller don't seem to register as well. Like, it's registering fine right now, but once, like, all hell breaks loose on screen, it feels like some of the inputs are lost in translation, which is... I especially noticed that on the final boss, and we'll see if that happens. And it kind of felt like that was happening there to a degree, but the big reason I died is that I just wasn't really paying attention. See, again, I'm just being dumb, letting these things just fly right on top of my head. Yeah, see that one bubble. Oh, no, there he is. Okay. He's trying to play catch up. Look at that. I'll just let him hop over. Okay, there we go. Looks like he spawned close enough to the edge of the screen that the game still allowed it to spawn in. Alright, let's just get over. Yeah, so there's definitely a good bit of RNG on this game, or this level. Not this game. This level. This game actually doesn't have a lot of randomization to it. Shoot, man. This is the level that gave me a hard time in the arcade Let's Play as well. Oh, technically the FM Towns Marty version, but it's, from what I understand, it's basically a perfect arcade port for all intents and purposes. Yeah, when I got to this level last night, I actually beat it on my first try. So I was like, oh, that was a cakewalk, but now it's actually giving me trouble now. So it's actually good to try to get up and just punch these things before they even start flying around the screen. That just makes life a lot easier. Now, if I wanted to, I could be trying to use the slide attack, which I didn't really describe. To do the slide attack, you jump, and then as you land, you press down, forward, and attack at the same time. And you'll do this slide attack. I don't really like the move that much. I don't really ever use it, because you kind of lose control. You know, you're just at the mercy of the slide. You can't just, like, you know, jump out of the slide and stop. Alright, there we go. Alright, so now we're on to the final stage. And it actually shows you the fire enemies. And so in this first part, you don't do anything, you just dodge. You jump and dodge. And this is actually one of the first sections in the game where there's actually a considerable amount of flicker. I'm guessing due to the large sprites, and they kind of overlap with one another a little bit. Alright, so final boss. That's Marilyn Manson. When I first played the arcade version on stream, a lot of people saw that and they were like, holy crap, it's Marilyn Manson. And they just couldn't stop talking about that. So now I'm pretty sure, just like in the arcade one, you can actually mash pretty quickly on this boss, and you'll actually do damage faster. And I think it's really the only boss type enemy I can think of in the game where you can actually do that, and it registers, you know, the rapid fire hits. What's actually really interesting about this game is it doesn't let you use the turbo functionality. If you try to use the turbo, it actually won't let you punch. It's kind of cool, actually. It actually makes you play the normal way. Not that you really need to punch that fast in this game anyway, but, you know, some people might just step up and just... See, when you try to use the turbo, he kind of like gets ready to punch, but doesn't punch, like this. It's kind of interesting. And that's pretty much it. We just beat the first Splatterhouse on the PC Engine. Actually, a really long overdue Let's Play. I've been wanting to do this Let's Play for a long time. But now that I'm really familiar with the first Splatterhouse, thanks to playing the FM Towns Marty version and completing it for a Let's Play a couple months ago, I felt ready to do this one. And so yeah, there we go. And we got our ending. Not much to the ending. It's very much just like the arcade version. Although you will notice, or you might have noticed in the very beginning of the video, that the intro was actually different than the arcade one. You didn't have like the little, you know, isometric angle of the camera with, you know, your characters running into the house. You just don't see that at all in... Jesus Christ, I can't talk right now. You don't see that at all in this version. I'm gonna take my headphones off so it's not as awkward to talk. It's always awkward talking with headphones on. Because, like, you kind of half hear yourself, and you don't. It's weird. And you hear the game audio at the same time. But yeah, that's Splatterhouse for the Turbo Grafx-16, technically. But also PC Engine in Japan. If anybody knows if the PC Engine version has any differences, like, if there's less censorship or something like that, let me know. I'd be curious to know. If it differs at all from the North American version. So again, guys, it is October 2016, and I've got horror-themed Let's Plays all this month. I've also got a couple of dual plays, including a dual play of Splatterhouse, the PC Engine version, and the FM Towns version. I'm basically just going to be using the footage from both Let's Plays and chopping them together, so they basically just play along together at the same speed. And I'll chop out any like randomized deaths or things like that that just stop the flow of the game, so you guys can get a good comparison side by side in motion. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Also, I've got a Splatterhouse 2 Let's Play. Again, you can probably check the description box or the card in the top right hand portion of the screen for that on Sega Genesis if you want to see that. And I might even have a Wanpaku Graffiti Let's Play coming up soon. And again, I might try to fit a Splatterhouse 3 Let's Play again somewhere in this month. We'll see. I'm not sure if that's going to actually happen, but we might make it happen. We will see. So, the end. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. For any of you guys out there that are brand new to my channel, please consider... holy crap, I still can't talk. Please consider subscribing. Everybody else out there, thanks as usual for your continued support. I'll see you guys soon, and... yeah, take it easy.